Hello and welcome to episode 22 of E30 M3 Recreation. In this video we will catch up with Spencer from BMP Conversions and see what he's been up to with the E30. You might notice that the car is sitting on different wheels to the last episode, but more about that later. If you've missed any of the previous episodes, the link to the playlist is at the top of the screen. Please remember to like, share and consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any of the next instalments. The more this car comes together, the more excited I get at seeing the finished product and experiencing for myself how much fun a car with a power to weight ratio of 350 bhp per tonne really is. Now over to Spencer.
Hello, Spencer from BMP Conversions. So this video update is basically just to show what we've been doing over the last few weeks. You can get a good idea of what the car's going to look like with its front and rear wide arches on. These are the wheels that the customer has chosen, Enz Lister has chosen to fit to the car. These replace the 5-spoke wheels that were fitted to the car previously, but these are a Compomotive set, quite a nice wheel.
The 5-spoke OZ wheels that we had planned to fit to this car were acquired quite a long time in advance of the starting of this build. They were powder coated white and they really did look smashing. Some people speculated in past videos that there might be clearance issues. Spencer was fully aware the first time he installed them that there definitely was. The OZ wheels would fit a standard E30 M3 without any issues whatsoever, but during the course of this build Spencer has installed many non-standard parts to aid the S54 engine swap, including E36 M3 suspension components and a Z4 rear axle, all of which has widened the track of the car substantially and forced the decision to buy different wheels. As you can see, there is no way this car could run on the OZ wheels when the car is sitting at its final ride height. The E36 M3 wheels Spencer had laying around gave him a flavour for the offset required to clear those wheel arches, and the Compomotive wheels now fitted to the car were ordered.
So we've been basically running wiring looms through the car, doing test fits on a lot of items that need to be addressed or fitted. The front and rear bumpers and side skirts are a fiberglass item, and I've made a previous video of that, but my company sells the side skirts, the front and rear bumpers, and we sell them with all internal fixings. So all the internal fixings like the original bumpers have, which you can see the side fixings. So this bumper basically fits like the original factory item. You can buy these mounts from BMW, and that slides into the original side mounts of the E30 M3. So his bumpers, front and rear, fit exactly as if they were a genuine item. The side skirts also clip on as if they were a genuine item as well. So if I just come down the side of the car like that, you can get a good appreciation of the M3 look of the car itself. So this last week, my mechanic Sean has been working on the fan and cooling system. So in the front of the car you can see we've actually done a few stainless steel mounts. The fan did come with some mounts, and to be quite honest, I don't like the mounts they come with. You have to pierce a hole through the radiator and then nut and bolt the fan from the back side of the rad. And I don't like piercing a hole through the tiny little fins, the cooling fins of the rad. So he's actually manufactured a stainless steel mount this side, a stainless steel mount this side, and then he's manufactured other mounts to hold the power steering cooler, as you can see in there. And he's also halfway through manufacturing the mount for the oil cooler. So the mounts either side are welded on. This is an S54 oil cooler. That is basically going to have some aluminium angle iron welded to the very tops to support the oil cooler itself. And then once that's done, that can be fully plumbed up. So as you can see, the engine is now well underway of being complete. We've got a few last things to put together, but we've just been having to wait for some parts to turn up. the engine was supplied to us just as a block and a cylinder head, so we were missing literally everything: wiring loom, every pipe clip, everything you can think of down the inlet side of the engine. You can see we've been supplied a K&N induction. Ben at Hack Engineering supplied this, and we've basically modified the shroud to make it fit into an E30, so she sucks a bit more cold air than it would if it was just sat in the engine bay. That needs to be finished. It's not totally finished yet, but as you can see, it's well underway. We've got to do a few spot welds there, grind it down, make it look pretty. New bottles have arrived, so the new expansion tank has arrived, along with the new screen washer tank as well. You can see we've bought every little retaining screw, pump, level sender, float, everything. So here's a brand new shock absorber sitting down here, waiting for the bonnet mechanism, so the bonnet stays up on its own. As you can see, there's a Peterson valve just on the inner wing here. A company called JC Racing supplies the Peterson valves to us. We basically send them the original sump, the original oil pump itself, and they basically modify the oil pump. They take the pressure relief valve out of the oil pump of the S50s and S54s, and they completely jam the oil pump in full pressure, so the pump is basically supplying maximum amount of pressure all the time. They then supply us with 2 braided lines. One braided line fits into the oil filter housing. In the oil filter housing of the S54 and S50, there is basically an aluminium bung that you can, a steel bung in the very lowest chamber, and you can remove that and basically fit the braided line, so the engine oil pump is pumping up pressure and it feeds up into the oil filter housing. It then comes out of that braided line to the Peterson valve. The Peterson valve is basically a U shape inside this black block, as you can see, and what you do is you adjust the pressure, the oil pressure, by screwing this Allen key in. So under your lock nut, screw the Allen key in, and it basically just applies pressure onto a rubber diaphragm which is pushed into the U shape. Now, the reason this is good is because I've had in the past these S engines, E46 and E36 engines. They basically have problems with the bottom end bearings, swarf building up inside the engine, generally bottom end related problems. And what can happen is the tiniest little bit of swarf can go into the engine oil pump itself. Once it goes inside the oil pump itself, there's a chamber in there with the pressure relief valve inside of it, and that chamber is a highly polished chamber for the piston to be able to move back and forth and control the oil pressure. If a piece of swarf goes into that oil chamber, it can cause the pressure relief valve to seize up in position, and you can either seize up in full pressure or you can seize up in no pressure. If it seizes up in no pressure, you end up basically wringing all your bottom end out. If you're at high RPMs, you can end up with bearing issues, crankshaft, spinning bearings. The customer's going to enjoy it for road use and enjoy it for track use, so we've sort of done a good all-rounder. But on track use, on the days that he does go out, the Peterson valve, if his oil pressure gets below, say for instance, goes near 20 psi, 25 psi is a healthy, reasonably healthy engine on idle, and if the oil pressure starts to drop at 20, 19, you can start to worry, and that can cause problems. With this valve, you don't have to worry. You can literally, once you've been out on the track, done a few laps, and the engine's got hot, the bearing clearances have opened up, the oil's got thinner, and the bearings aren't holding the oil in position, what you can do is you can literally come into the engine bay, adjust your pressure up to wherever you need it, and continue driving the car all day knowing that your oil pressure is at 25-30 psi, and you haven't got to worry about when you're coming off the throttle and ending up with no oil pressure. So that's a very handy piece of kit. We fit those to every single build we do, Every single car, whether it be road or race, gets a Petersons valve, and it's only purely because that is a guaranteed fix. Yeah, that's the engine build-up. We've been working on other stuff. Obviously, there's been a lot of sensors we had to do. The company who done the exhaust manifold themselves, they didn't actually fit the exhaust manifold gaskets when they put the exhaust system back on, so we had to have the whole exhaust system off again and then refit it back on the car. There's a few things that we're waiting for. So I've got this steel under tray, but the back piece of this is gone off for galvanising. There is also a few trays that I've bought brand new, which are the heat shields under the car. The exhaust heat shield, as you can see, we bought brand spanking new, and there is, well, everything on the build is new, to be quite honest. But we're waiting on quite a lot of parts to come just to be able to finish it off so we can go off for the electrician. So we are very, very close to having this engine ready to fire and ready to run. We've just got to do a few Jubilee clips, make the AN pipes from the engine to the oil cooler, power steering to power steering cooler, and also fit like the filler neck, so everything looks like brand new, rust killed, totally, blast it right back, and it's just going to last 10 more years before any corrosion comes. So every single part has to be cleaned before it goes back on the car. Every single part has to look nice. If it doesn't, then it's got to be replaced. There are so many parts that obviously came off the original car that just physically couldn't be used because either they were deteriorated, rubber things, clips, screws, all sorts of things that come off the car when you tear them down that are just throwaway items. Meanwhile, we have to supply and buy a lot of different things to be able to make the engine conversion work into the E30 chassis. So there's a lot more involved in just using all the parts that come off the car and tearing the car down and then putting it back together. Everything that you see in sight is new, even down to, we have every single thing, every single nut and bolt zinc plated. We now have galvanising done, so everything we do fully reconditioned. If it's not reconditioned, it's new. Because this is the next thing, the electrician's obviously going to wire in the stack dash gauges which we've been supplied by the customer. The customer has supplied us with temperature senders and all different clocks, oil pressure, temperature and fuel, just to be certain that he can keep a good eye on what's going on inside the car while he's driving it. So as you can see, the throttle pedal is in position, all the pedal box is in position. The wiring loom does need tidying up. There's a lot of work to be done in relation to the wiring loom. The wiring loom nearly has lost all its shrouding since we've been pulling it in and out of the car. So the original loom had a material tape attached all around it, and you can see the condition of it. And as we move the wiring loom and pull it in and out of the car itself, all that shroud comes off. So it's the electrician's job to actually renew all this loom cover, which is this material tape. You can see how rotten it is. I can just pull it off like that. So he's going to be renewing the entire loom wiring cover throughout the car. So that'll be the engine bay, inside the car. The wiring loom will be like brand new. He'll test every wire, he'll run every switch, turn every light on, make sure the cable continuities are correct, and then re-shroud. So yeah, that's the next big step. Next video to come when the car is actually at the electrician's. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, the next one's coming pretty soon. Give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and thank you very much.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Car Lube. In this episode we've got quite an interesting touring car inspired E36 BMW M3.